Olympic Games, so plenty to look forward to in the men's 400 metres. Plenty to look forward to here. The men's 100-metre heats. Carl Lewis seeded directly into the final here, so we will have 3 heats. The first 2 and the next 2 fastest will go through to the final. Here's heat 1, Shirvington 1, Hutton 2, Steve Brimacombe, one of the favourites here, just missed out on the Olympic final in the 200 in Atlanta. Pentony in 5, Koula from Tonga in lane 6, Chris Donaldson in 7, Hadfield and Ryan Witnish. So Brimacombe and Witnish, the ones to watch here, they should proceed without too many problems.
Witnish from the outside, Brimacombe from lane number 4, 3 from the right-hand side of your screens, with lane 1 being vacant. The first runner you see there is Shirvington. Away they go. Brimacombe away only fairly on this side of the track. Witnish got away quite well and back on the inside. Shirvington. Now Brimacombe goes through on the inside and Brimacombe's going to qualify. It's pretty tight for second. Oh, I think Donaldson got there in front of Witnish, and those two will go through to the final along with Carl Lewis, who didn't have to qualify, of course, and the time is 10.28.
Well, the time's a good one. We just looked for the wind and it is legal. So Steve Brimacombe will be delighted with that. A World Championships A qualifier. And it is a personal best by 1/100th of a second for Steve Brimacombe. He's pumped up. He did get away a little bit slowly, but gee, he picked it up. Ryan Witnish is with him there, as is Donaldson, the New Zealander. But Brimacombe, he remains relaxed. The form is perfect. He eases off at the line, and a personal best for Steve Brimacombe. Here he is in isolation. Bursting face for Steve Brimacombe, but he does get up and he gets relaxed. There's Steve Hutton on his right-hand side. On his left-hand side, I should say, on our right-hand side as we look at it on the screen. But Brimacombe totally relaxed as he comes down to the line, and it looks good for this afternoon, Brimmer.
And I think Chris Donaldson has finished second, is it? Just in front of Witnish on this.
We go from the hammer back to the 100 metres. This is the second heat. David Baxter, the World Junior representative, in 2. Gavin Hunter 3. The new sensation, Patrick Johnson. Will we see Lewis versus Johnson? Not Ben, not Michael, but Patrick. If he can make it through this heat. Jason Snell, also a World Junior rep in 5. Andrew Pym in 6. Shem Hollands 7. Patrick Stevens. He's an Olympic finalist in the 200 metres from Belgium. Good to see him here. And Ricky Nalatu. There's Patrick Johnson. Well, this will be his 4th or 5th 100-metre race. Certainly a newcomer. Stevens has got a very impressive personal best of 10.23. There's Ricky Nalatu from the Queensland Academy of Sport. Ryan Witnish will have an eye on the clock here. He just missed out in second place in the previous heat. First 2 and the next 2 fastest.
On their marks now. Oh, and someone towards the outside was a little bit anxious. Nalatu, or perhaps the runner from Belgium, Patrick Stevens. We'll have a look at the replay, and that'll be able to pick up via David Colbert, who was a little anxious before the starter said go.
Well, there's plenty of reason to be anxious. Of course, if they finish in the first 2, here we go. And I would say that that is Patrick Stevens from Belgium. Well, I'm a little bit surprised that an athlete of his experience would break. Of course, athletes have 2 breaks here.
Call back to their marks now. Heat number 2 of the men's 100 metres. First 2 go through to the final. Patrick Johnson running in 4. And Patrick Stevens. Johnson slowly away. In fact, there's another breaker. Now, it's already Stevens being penalised once, and we'll have a look at the replay and see who has offended on this second occasion, David Colbert.
I think that was Andrew Pym in the all-white colours of the Sydney University Club. Yes, clearly there. So, a break each. Of course, each athlete can have 1 break, 2 breaks, and you pick up your box and get the marching orders.
I wonder what this does. David and Ray, I wonder what this does to Patrick Johnson. He's fairly inexperienced. Would he now be a bit nervous himself? He seems to be a bit slow out. He probably hasn't done a lot of block work. I'd be interested in his reaction here.
Well, to be honest, I don't think he's probably been in the situation before, so it's all new for him. You can see there that he's pretty composed.
Back to the box again.
he'd be concentrating on what he has to do, waiting for the bang, waiting for the beat of the bang.
Yeah, I'm impressed by him already. The first time I've got to see him, and he seems to be a huge talent, and we'll see right now.
So Johnson in lane 4. Away they go. He was slow at the start, and Patrick Stevens on the outside got away well, going quickly. 100 now. Johnson going through the centre. Johnson gathers them in, and Patrick Johnson is easing down to win on the line. Second was Patrick Stevens, just in front, I think, of David Baxter. Oh, how easy was that? 10:29 is the time.
Wind assisted, unfortunately, for Patrick Johnson, but it doesn't matter. He's into the final. He got away probably the slowest of all of them. He'll have some companionship in the final because Lewis never gets away all that well. But, gee, didn't he gobble him up? Shades of Donovan Bailey. Mono.
He's very strong, isn't he, in the legs? He seems to almost wobble a bit, but, gee, didn't he come through well in the second half? I haven't seen him before, but I think I might see him again.
Well, Patrick Stevens also finished strongly. We can see the start here. Doesn't quite have the strength yet to get away from those blocks. Patrick Stevens up and running. Ricky Nalatu on his outside. Jason Snell, the junior, got away well. Baxter came through strongly for third, but through to the final will definitely be Johnson and Stevens. He has a bit of a look at the cross. Well, he likes it. Bit of a showmanship already. They're into the blocks. Henderson, Rooney, Hawkins, Thom, Wagui, Anau, Paul Pearce, Mike Weiner, and a man that is no stranger to anyone, Dean Capobianco.
Capobianco running from number 9 in centre screen now. First 2 go through to the final, third of 3 heats. On opposite sides of the track, Henderson and Capobianco got away well. Running quickly was Weiner. Pearce back behind them. Down on the inside, Henderson in front. Capobianco is struggling to qualify. Now he gets going. He'll run second, Capobianco behind Paul Henderson. Those two go through to the final, and the time was 10.30.
Well, a big win there for a big win and a big win. 5.0 the tar win, so what an enthralling final we have. They're away from the blocks. Capobianco away a little bit slowly. Henderson on the inside. Atlanta Olympic representative in this event. Relay specialist. And he looks like he's in form. Straining a little bit there. He switches off with about 20 metres to go. Save something for the final, Paul. Capobianco in second. And I reckon Ryan Witnish will be one of the fastest losers to go through. There's Henderson. So we had Brimacombe 10:28. Stevens and Johnson virtually the same and around the same time, and then Henderson in 10:30. So nothing splitting the first 3 or 4, and they'll race King Carl Lewis at 6:55 this evening. So wherever you are around Australia, don't you go away, because that race will be here live on Sports Australia. The first and only time that we will see Carl Lewis competing in Australia. So a big thrill for some of those young athletes to go through to that final. And Steve, a couple of, before we come back to Steve Monaghetti, Amanda, the pledges with Paul Henderson.
Paul Henderson, well done. A terrific win, a nice win to push you along there too.
Yeah, it certainly was. I thought I might get a nice legal win there, but fortunately you've got to just put up with the conditions you can get. But, you know, I felt comfortable, felt cruisy, just punched it out and had a bit left, you know, for the final. So just get ready for the final now.
What about backing up from Atlanta, and obviously not great results for you there? What have you been through over the last few months leading now into this domestic season again?
Basically, to overcome a hernia operation was one thing, but Atlanta was disappointing. But now I'm right on track, and hopefully we can get a win today. We'll just go in today and be positive, and you know, just take every race as it comes.
Well, good luck for the final, Paul.
Thanks a lot.
Come to see the men's 100-metre final. Donaldson, the New Zealander, in 1. Witnish in lane 2. In fact, they're the finalists there. I can give you the lane draw now. Dean Capobianco, in fact, will be in 1. Baxter will be in 2. Henderson 3. Brimacombe 4. Carl Lewis will be in 5. Patrick Stevens in 6. Patrick Johnson in 7. There it is now. Chris Donaldson in 8 and Ryan Witnish in 9. But all eyes will be on Carl Lewis and there's certainly an air of anticipation here in the stadium. And Steve, he was disappointing in New Zealand. He finished 7th, ran about 10.70. There's the great man there, 9-time Olympic gold medalist, twice world record holder over this distance. Been involved in all the most famous runs.
The greatest athlete of our time. You've got to admit, in my era, there's been no greater than Carl Lewis, and he's here in Australia. And I'm sure that 11,963 people have come to see him run tonight.
Look at that.
Let's hope he puts
best
on a show.
Yeah, 9.86, the personal best.
What's he do? He's got to lift himself a bit after New Zealand. We saw the run there wasn't all that, wasn't the Carl Lewis we know, but he is a great big-time performer, and I'm sure he'll acquit himself a lot better here tonight. He's got some great. This is a terrific event. We're very even across the heat, so he won't have it on his own, that's for sure. You can guarantee this will be a very close and exciting race, and let's hope that Carl's up there with them.
Gentlemen, just about this young fellow, Patrick Johnson. I mean, 6 months ago, to suggest to him that he would have been running in a major race at a GP track meet against Carl Lewis is quite incredible. And here he is this evening against King Carl, Patrick Johnson.
Yeah, well, he certainly couldn't believe it himself. In fact, this time last year he was playing touch rugby, as we see Paul Henderson and Steve Brimacombe. Brimmer just missing out on the Olympic final. In fact, Patrick Stevens, who we'll see a little bit later. As Carl shakes hands with Brimmer, that'll be a big thrill for you, Steve Brimacombe, whenever the great man shakes your hand. But Patrick Johnson, as we look at Lewis, look at that number. It's a gold number 9. He's the only one in this field certainly wearing a gold number, signifying the 9 Olympic gold medals that the great man has won. There's Patrick Stevens. We talked about Brimacombe and Stevens. They've got a bit of a rivalry. It was this man, the Belgian, that took Brimmer's place in the 200-metre final in Atlanta. Brimmer finishing 9th. And there's Johnson. 10.67's his best time legally. Ran 10.27 in Perth, ran 10.31 during the week in Canberra. Spent the first 16 years of his life on a boat. Used to dive off to go to school. There's Donaldson, the New Zealander. Great thrill for all of these people. Good opportunity here. Make yourself famous, fellas. Beat the king. Ryan Witnish ran well in New Zealand. But just getting back to Patrick Johnson, he this time last year he was playing touch rugby. He rejected some offers for Super League. They wanted him to play at either the Cowboys up in Queensland or the Raiders. They didn't matter which. He decided that he wanted to stay with track and field. They offered him a scholarship at the AIS in Canberra, which he accepted. As we welcome Melinda Gainsford-Taylor to the microphone. Welcome, Mel. You've had a bit of a warm down. How are you feeling?
Hi, Dave. Not too bad. A bit disappointed with the run, but hey, got to start somewhere.
Okay, we'll come back and talk to Melinda about this race and her race in detail in a moment, but they're about to be called to the blocks now for the feature event, men's 100 metres, featuring King Carl Lewis. Steve Brimacombe being introduced now, and as David's already indicated to you, a thrill of a lifetime for him, with Carl Lewis offering his hand prior to the start of this race.
Well, Brimmer's been in this sort of situation before, so he won't be phased. So we just pause to hear the reaction for the king. Quiet, please. No, Carl, you're the star of the show and people can clap for as long as they like. It must be a great thrill for him on a farewell tour of the world. Patrick Stevens, Olympic finalist in the 200 metres in Atlanta. One of the favourites going in here, ran a great heat earlier in the day. And Melinda, what's going through these athletes' minds? Patrick Johnson, you saw him in Perth during last week. Fantastic talent.
He's a great talent. I remember him saying that coming up to this race that he was hoping to get through the heats and to get in the final. And here he is today, and it's great to be in his position because he's got nothing to lose and everything to gain. And first major race, and he's against Carl Lewis. Great
atmosphere here in Sydney. 12,000 spectators come to watch this man here with the gold number 9. Quiet now. 9 Olympic gold medals for Carl Lewis.
Being called to the blocks, the 100 metres. Capobianco, Baxter, Henderson, Brimacombe, Lewis. Patrick Stevens from Belgium. Patrick Johnson, Australia. Donaldson, New Zealand. Witnish, Australia. An air of expectation here at the Homebush Stadium. Away they go. Lewis away only fairly. Baxter got away well. So did Capobianco, and Johnson through the centre. And on the outside, Witnish is going quickly. And now Brimacombe and Henderson. Brimacombe streaming to the lead. Brimacombe wins. It's tight for second and third. Brimacombe first. I think Donaldson second, just in front of either Witnish, Stevens and Carl Lewis just in behind them. But all honours with Steve Brimacombe.
Great run for Brimacombe, a little bit slower than the heat this morning. He ran 10.27 to win that heat. 10.43 there. Carl Lewis certainly ran a much improved race from what we saw in New Zealand. And this is what he said he came to Australia to do. To slap fires with the fans. He goes immediately to the fence. There's a bit of a media scrum. This poor man, Steve Brimacombe's been forgotten. He shouldn't be. Because it was a great run from Steve Brimacombe, the Queenslander. He raced against Lewis in Perth. Or in New Zealand, I should say, last Friday. But it was an improved run for Lewis Melinda. He looked pretty shoddy in New Zealand, but there was a much better run there tonight.
He was. He was actually up there for the first 50 with the guys, but then they sort of pulled away from him. But well done to Steve. I mean, he didn't run too well in Canberra, if I remember correctly, so his few races has been agreeing with him.
Well, it was a good run also from Ryan Witnish as we go to the replay. He's on our outside. He got a great start. So did Patrick Johnson. The start was the worry for him. He's in the red. 3 from the left. Lewis is with them at this stage. Henderson on Brimacombe's inside. He's up there at this stage too, but this is the strong part of Brimacombe's race. The 200-metre speed coming through. He really does lift in the final 20 metres. He goes to the line here. There's not much in it, but a clear victory for Brimacombe. Witnish and Donaldson, there's not much between those two. And let's have a look. Now, Patrick Stevens was perhaps a little bit disappointing, but pretty even after 20 metres. And Lewis, the trademark finishing speed of the King, not quite there.
When Brimacombe went, it was Henderson who went with him, and then on the outside, Donaldson and Witnish. Now, they've hit the line locked together. You can see Lewis finishing in about 6th position, and Johnson has finished probably 5th, just behind Patrick Stevens. So a big effort by the youngster in his first big race, and I think that Donaldson will get second, looking at that replay, just in front of Ryan Witnish, but the winner is Steve Brimacombe.
Here's the King in isolation. Well, the time may not be as fast, but the style remains the same. He's been likened to Muhammad Ali, smooth as silk. There's not a better technician in world sprinting than this man. 9.86, the personal best time. Steve Brimacombe just on his outside. A great run from him, but great to see Carl Lewis finally run here. He'll be a little bit disappointed with that placing, but I'm sure the man who won the race won't be disappointed. He's with Amanda to pledge. Steve Brimacombe, a fantastic run, and all honours to you.
Yeah, Steve, all honest to you. Of course, at the moment, you're being a little bit upstaged, but I guess you can understand that you've got a big smile on your face anyway. You don't mind, do you?
No, I don't mind at all.
That must have been pretty satisfying, a great run.
Go and do a lap of honour with him, but I don't think I will. What's the point? No, it's really good to race him, you know. Obviously, he's one of the greatest athletes that's ever run. And it's in his last year. I know he's not in the best form, but it's still good to be able to be involved in something as good as that.
Particularly, and what about, I mean, a huge crowd here tonight. It's so good to see in Sydney a crowd like this come to watch the world's best or Australia's world-class athletes in action. Does that really lift you? Do you feel that, the anticipation of the crowd?
Absolutely. I mean, that really makes them, you know. I was saying in Canberra the other week there was a fair crowd there, but it just felt like an inter-club meet, you know. But this is sort of up there ranking with the, you know, the meets in Europe. And it's really exciting. You get this sort of thing happening all the time and the performances are going to lift.
Steve Brimacombe, a terrific win.
Thank you very much.
Well, Melinda Gaines for Tully, you were down there a little bit earlier. Does it feel like those big meets in Europe? You've been to all the big ones. How does it feel?
Oh, it feels great, Dave. Actually, when I turned out tonight, I was very surprised to see the crowd, and it's great to have them here. And, you know, it's pretty hard for me tonight because it's been 2 years competing and domestically, and, you know, to come out and have a crowd and people cheering your name, I'm not quite used to that, especially after being in Europe, but it's fantastic out there.
Have a look at these scenes. It's like a scene at the Sydney Football Stadium or the MCG in Melbourne with the victors. In fact, although Lewis not the victor here, but certainly the hero for the people here in Homebush tonight. And won't they take away a memory? They can say to their children that they've seen and touched the King.
He doesn't have to do this. This is quite remarkable that he would take the time. It's all right to run around the perimeter of the track. I know he's probably finished 6th or 7th, but to actually stop and exchange handshakes and pleasantries with the younger members of the crowd and some older members as well. It's a mark of what is a great man and a great athlete. He certainly is affording the Australians much more time than perhaps he's entitled to, and that's wonderful.
Well, he said that as we look at the result, he said that he wanted to do that. That was part of his farewell tour. And there he is in 7th place, tying with Dean Capobianco. But Brimacombe, the winner, 10.37. Well, 10.43 was on the clock, so we'll be happy with 10.37. Witnish and Donaldson, they couldn't split them in second. Paul Henderson, Patrick Stevens, 10.51. Patrick Johnson, I think, shouldn't be too disappointed with that run, 10.52. Carl Lewis, 10.56. So an improvement on what he did in New Zealand last Friday night. Not 9.86, but still a good run. Capobianco and David Baxter. Well, welcome back. Great scenes here at the moment with Carl Lewis. Someone's just given him a necklace on the back straight where he's slapping high fives. There he is there. I think he's given his gold number 9 to that person. And Melinda, you were saying just before that amazing crowd here, and what effect did it have on you during that 200 metres?
I think Dave would actually have it. I was so excited and fired up that I actually went a little bit too hard that first 100 and had nothing left, but you know, it's great to be out here in the crowd, and it's great to be running in front of your home crowd once again after 2 years.
Crowd of just under 12,000, perhaps the biggest we've seen in Sydney for this sort of meet, a Grand Prix meet. But the people screaming your name, and maybe that was just the reason that in that last 50 it looked like 500 metres instead of 50 metres.
Oh, I can tell you what, it did. But yeah, I had people going, Melinda, 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 which is really sweet, you know, to have the support out there. But it's trying to cope with it again.
There's some fantastic scenes here. Carl just went past a young child who had the biggest smile on her face. And these people, I know that certainly my dad tells me what it was like to see the great Don Bradman. I know in America they talk about Babe Ruth or being at a Muhammad Ali fight. And for these people here in Sydney today, they'll be able to tell their kids and their grandkids that they saw the greatest athlete of all time, Carl Lewis, compete. His record will only grow in stature.
I think it's important that we keep paying tribute to him, because the bulk of the people, of course, have come to see Carl Lewis, but also see Kathy Freeman and Melinda Gainsford and other great athletes here, but he's certainly giving them their money's worth.
Sonia O'Sullivan joining Amanda DePledge in the Akubra that Ray Hadley talked about is the great man Carl Lewis.
Carl Lewis, I love the hat. It's good to see you're going to take back a bit of Australia with you when you do go home.
Well, even without the hat, I tell you, I was taking a little bit of the nice people. I tell you, I've been here 3 times now. This is the first time and only time I was able to compete, and it was so exciting. This year for me is going to be a big thrill. It started off with a bang, 2 big crowds, 2 exciting groups of people, and I'm thrilled and I'm very thankful to everyone, not only in Sydney, but in Australia. And I can guarantee it, the people are like this is going to be one of the best games ever.
A lot of people might walk away from an athletics career. You've achieved so much. Everyone is in awe of your greatness, but obviously it means a lot to you to really go out and say goodbye to the world in the right way, your way.
I tell you, exactly right. And in 1995 at the National Championships, I didn't have a good meet, and I told myself that I was going to earn the right to go out on my terms. And winning last year gave me that right, and now I can do it the way I want to, interacting with the fans, having fun with the meets, and going to places I haven't been before. So it's been a big thrill.
What challenges are ahead for you now? What do you want to achieve now?
Well, athletically, make it through the season, visit all the places, like I said, enjoy myself, leave the sport with a high spirit. That's a big goal of mine, to leave it after days like today. I can leave it with a spirit saying this is the best thing I could have ever done this career. And that's really the main goal for me this year, have fun, but to leave it knowing that I gave everything I had and everyone is giving back, and I was able to accept that.
Carl Lewis, there are so many great highlights in your career, but please, if you can try and explain which one or which highlight would be the best for you.
Well, for me, it was in Atlanta athletically. I mean, winning that last gold medal with the world staring on and cheering me on made a big difference. I mean, when you're in a stadium like that with 80,000 people that you feel like your friends, it's a huge difference. And I guess through all of that, the moment that I remember the most was right after the end of the long jump. I saw my sister there crying on the field, and that was tremendous.
Now, Carl Lewis, standing next to you is one of our all-time favourites, Kathy Freeman. Lovely to see you.
Thanks. Oh, thanks.
Great to see you back in Australia. Now, isn't this great? Have you ever been to anything like this in Sydney where the crowd is so alive?
I don't think you realise what you've done today. But I mean, obviously, it's a great, huge benefit having King Carl here. But yeah, I mean, to see the supporters come out today and support not only big stars, but our local athletes. It's tremendous.
Well, terrific from both of you. Thank you so much. It's been so wonderful to see you both in action here today. Carl Lewis and Kathy Freeman, congratulations, and thanks very much for today.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.